So Dharani is our lead from Malaysia, and he's gonna present on the CI/CD for Dynamics 365 customer engagement using Azure DevOps, as we know as recently renamed to VSTS. So this is gonna be a great session, guys. So if you are ready, Dharani, I will hand it over to you. Dharani, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Manish. Yeah. Thanks for the introduction, Manish. I'm good to proceed. I will take it up.
Sure.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So welcome to Microsoft APAC Business Applications and Power Platform Meetup. I'm super excited to be part of this event today. I hope everyone enjoyed all the back sessions since morning. So today I'll be presenting on. Today I'm going to talk about the DevOps for Dynamics 365 CE. But before I talk about Dynamic DevOps, let me give a small quick introduction about myself. So myself, Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam, I'm working as a senior technical lead in Exchanging Malaysia. I'm leading the Microsoft Business Applications and Power Platform, the KL user community and the APAC community and the Dynamics 365 Champs community. And also I'm ambassador of D365 Saturday. On the screen, I'm flashing the Twitter handle, LinkedIn, blog details. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to assist you on your queries. So here is our agenda. So we'll see today what is DevOps and why DevOps is important and how we have implemented DevOps for Dynamics 365 CE. And we'll get into the system demo and we'll see the summary of today's session, and finally we'll get into Q&A. So what is DevOps? So DevOps is nothing but a set of practices that combines the software development and the information technology operations, which aims to shorten the development lifecycle and provide the continuous delivery with the high software quality to the customers or to the end users. So DevOps as the union of people, process and products to enable the continuous delivery of value to our customers or to the end users. If you ask me in simple terms, the people are really one of the most important pieces of our DevOps. Do we have the right people in place to accomplish what is we need to do in our software development process? If we don't have the right people in the place, then how do we go about getting those people on board? Do we bring them in? Do we cross-train, up-train? Again, it's based on a company. Each and every company will have their own DevOps process. Then in this era, every company is having its own development process, good or bad or indifferent. They have their process, and we use this process on a regular basis to deliver software to our customers. It's just that how well is that process working for you? If it is not working as well you would like, then the idea is like just revamp the process, we'll make a little tweak to it and we'll make that process to work on. Typically in the earlier days, mostly all the projects, software implementation projects, we won't have the separate budget for implementing the DevOps. Whereas in this recent days, each and every implementation project is having the separate fund allocation for DevOps. And also we do have a separate role for a DevOps engineer to take care of this operational excellence things. DevOps describes a culture and set of process that brings development and operations teams work together to complete the software development. It allows the organizations to create and improve product at a faster pace than compared to this traditional approach. For example, in the traditional software development approach, if you are taking lots of time, then using this DevOps approach, we'll be able to deliver the product with a good quality in a short period of time. According to the DevOps.com, the adaptation rate has significantly increased from 2015. In the 2015, if you see, only 66% of organizations were adopting the DevOps, 19% were not adopting the DevOps, and 15% were undecided. Whereas in 2016, 74% of organizations were adopting the DevOps, and 60% of companies were not adopting the DevOps, and rest 10% were undecided. But in 2020, 90% of organizations were adopting the DevOps, and only the 7% were not adopting, and 3% of the companies were undecided. And here are the top 5 reasons why the industry has been so quick to adopt our DevOps principles. The first thing is like the shorter development cycles and the faster innovation. What I mean is like with the combined development and the operations teams, the applications are ready for use much more quickly. This is important since companies succeed based on their ability to innovate faster than their competitors. And second thing is like it reduces the deployment failures, rollbacks, and the time to recover. And the improved communications and the collaboration. The DevOps improves the software development culture. The combined teams are happier and more productive. This culture becomes focused most on the performance rather than the individual goals. When the teams trust each other, they can experiment and they can innovate more efficiently. The teams can focus on getting the product go live very soon. And increased efficiency helps to speed the development process and make it less prone to error. And last but not least, this reduced cost and the IT headcount. All of the above DevOps benefits translate to overall reduced cost and the IT headcount requirements. Here is the DevOps process. This is the complete the process flow diagram. So how we are using this DevOps process. See, the Azure pipelines is a cloud service that we use to automatically build and test your project and make it available to the other users. It works with just about the language or any project type. It combines the Azure DevOps mainly combines the continuous integration and the continuous delivery part. So together we call this as an Azure DevOps. In this the pictorial representation, if you see this edit code, we'll do it in the Visual Studio and we'll push it to the code repository. And in the continuous integration task, we'll build the task and we'll form the solution and we'll do all the test task. And once this gets succeeded, all the components will be moved to the repository, the artifacts. Once the build gets succeeded, then the release will trigger, and here the continuous the deployment starts. The release will trigger, and it will pick the solution from the artifacts instance, and it will deploy it into our target instances. This is the typical the step by step the flow diagram of the DevOps process. So when I was assigned as a platform engineer for one of the Dynamics 365 implementation project, at that time I have faced the few key challenges with the CRM deployments. So I have listed those things over here. So each time when I need to export the solution manually from the source environment, and I need to import it into the destination environment. And also note unit testing or the code is not validated. What are the piece of code I'm moving it from the source to the destination environment? All those things we are not sure that whether it is perfectly unit tested or whether all the validation has been done or not. The multiple deployment process is followed between all the release environments and the master data. Typically in day-to-day in the CRM projects, what we do is like all the master data will export manually from the source environment and we will import it into the destination environment. And the multiple developers working in the same organization will be overriding the changes. All these things I felt like it's a key challenges even for the small projects. It's fine, but if you are taking the larger organization, over there multiple developers will be working over there, and it will be difficult for us to keep the track of what changes, who is doing all those things, and will not be able to make sure whether all the solution which you are moving from the dev to SIT is properly validated or not. In order to maintain all these things, we have come up with this new process. So yeah, so in order to resolve all these challenges, I have started working on the deployment automation process. We have defined this particular process, but it's not a thumb rule like we need to follow only this process. Each and every company will have their own requirement and they will have their own business needs. Based on that, they can follow any process which they want. According to our business problems, according to our the challenges, we have come up with this process. So typically in a larger organization, what will happen is like the multiple developers will be sharing a single source instance. So as part of this process, I will explain you first process how it works actually. If the developer is assigned with the user story as a first step, the developer, sorry. Yeah, the developer is assigned with the user story as a first step. They will come up with the design and they will present it to the solution review board. Based on the SRB approval, the developers will start working on their user stories. The developers will do their configuration and the customization changes in the source environment. That is nothing but the CRM dev environment. This will be the golden source environment for all the customization and the configuration changes. Once the user story is completed, the developer will export the solution from the source environment using the PowerShell script, and he will unpack the solution, and he needs to check in only the necessary components associated with his user story into the source control. So while doing the check-in, we have enabled the gated check-in process. So it will automatically do the gated check-in. In the gated check-in, we have configured the Sonar Cube and the JS hint. The Sonar Cube is for all the plugins, workflows, and the custom code which you are writing it on the dynamic CRM projects. And the JS lint is for the HTML and the JavaScripts which you are writing. So we have enabled the gated check-in process. And why we need the gated check-in process is to maintain the code quality across all the developers, and also each and every company will have their coding standards. In order to maintain the company coding standards, this gated check-in is necessary. And also using this gated check-in, we can make sure like it won't break the deployment process in the build automation. Once the gated check-in gets succeeded, the code will get moved into the source control. Once the code moved into the source control, automatically the VSTS build definition, it will trigger, and with the solutions in the source control, it will form the CRM solution and it will move it to the artifacts repository. And even we do have the test automation framework which we have written that will trigger on based of this the VSTS, the build definition, and it will do the test automation and it will publish the results. And based on the results, we are triggering the deployment. The release definition will trigger, and that will pick the solution from the artifacts repository and it will move the solution into a CRM SIT environment. And the internal testers, they will validate all the user stories, and if they give the sign off, and will be moving to the UAT environment. Similarly, we move it to the production environment. So yeah, this is the process diagram.
Sorry, Janani. Mr. Yashwant, can you please go on mute? Thank you.
Yeah, as I explained in the previous slide, this is in-depth detail about it. So here, if you see, the green color highlights the manual process and the purple color explains the automated process. In our complete automation process, only the developer, they need to export the solution and they need to extract it and they need to check in their necessary components. Only this is the only manual process involved in our DevOps. Rest other things, system will take care of it automatically. As I mentioned in the previous slide, they will customize the CRM solution and they will add it into the main solution. From here, the PowerShell script will run and it will export, and the dev will exclude the other developer changes and he will check in only his required components. It will flow into the TFS. Once it gets committed into the TFS, the build definition will trigger and it will pick all the XML files and it will package that into an unmanaged solution and it will push it to the artifacts repository. Once this is done, the release pipeline will trigger and it will pick the file from the artifacts repository and it will move it to SIT. And we have enabled the solution checker and it will run against the solution which we have formed in the VSTS build definition. Once this is done, then we have configured the pre-deployment approver for the UAT process. Even similarly for SIT also we have configured it. For SIT it will be a test manager. For UAT and the production, it will be a product owner. Based on their approval, that particular solution will be moved to the SIT. In SIT, the solution will be moved. And based on the product owner's approval from the SIT environment, we are picking the managed solution, and that managed solution, we are moving it to the UAT. And once the business user validates all the user story, then we are following the same approach for the production instance. Here is the Dynamics 360 here is the the representation of how we are managing the CRM instances in order to achieve this process. The dev environment, SIT, UAT, and the prod environment. Typically, all the companies will have the dev and the production environment, but this SIT and the UAT is mandatory to maintain the to validate whether all the requirements are properly developed and validated. So in order to maintain the standards, so all the companies will be using the SIT and the UAT environment. And if you see here, dev environment is the golden source of environment for all our customization configuration changes, and SIT where the people will test all the functionalities against the different types of data by the internal test users, and UAT is like where we all test the functionalities against the different types of data by the business users. Production is nothing but the go live instance. So in order to achieve our process, these are the prerequisites which is required: Visual Studio 2015 and 2017. And we do need the Visual Studio, the CRM developer, the CRM SDK toolkit. There is a CRM developer toolkit, so we can install that. And then the Visual Studio, the team services, which is nothing but earlier it was called as a VSTS. Recently they have renamed it as a Azure DevOps. And Dynamics 365 CE online. And we need to know the basic knowledge of PowerShell script. And next is the solution packager. In our process, mainly we are using the extract and the pack commands in the solution packager. And next is the Power DevOps tools, which has been developed by the Valhamis. So earlier it was called as a Dynamics 365 build tools. Now recently it has been renamed as a Power DevOps tools. And one more thing, this is not only the tool we need to follow for the DevOps process. We do have a lot of tools available in the market. And also instead of the Azure DevOps, the people, they will use the Git as a repository, and instead of the VSTS pipeline, the people, they will use the Jenkins as a the build definition pipelines. So for our process, as I said, based on our need, we have used these things. But however, based on your requirement and based on your convenience, you can use it. Basically here we went with the two approach. One is using the Valhamis, and other one is like instead of this Valhamis tools, we have written one PowerShell script to achieve all the required the functionalities. But for today's demo, I will be explaining with the Power DevOps tools. And right hand side you can see the image. This Power DevOps tools. This comes as an extension with the Azure DevOps. You need to install it the first time. So once you install, then you will be able to see inside your VSTS build and release definition. And here I have given the link to download this the Power DevOps tools. Yeah, before starting with the system demo, I wish to quickly explain you the mandatory rules which we need to follow as part of this DevOps process. So let us take a moment to define some of the mandatory tools which we need to follow. All the source code must be in the source control. For example, the CRM, the implementation involves the plugin code, custom workflows, actions, web resources, and the solution file, master data will be there, and the security roles will be there. All those things should be there in the source control. The reason is like if you are having these things in the source control, then it will be easy to track the changes, and also whenever the rollback is needed, we'll be easily able to roll back it. And the check-in is regularly needed because each check-in will trigger the commit process. Each check-in will trigger the commit process. Based on the commit process, we are triggering the VSTS build and release definition. And this each and every commit process should be validated, which means nothing but the gated check-in, as I have mentioned. So based on each and every developer's commit, we need to enable the gated check-in in order to maintain the code quality across all the developers, and also we do have, each company will have the coding standards. So let's get into the system demo. So this build automation is the project, which is a sample project which I have created for the demo purpose. So if you see here right hand side, you can see the project stats, what all the change sets has been checked in, and we'll be able to see the build, how many builds has been succeeded and how many the deployments has been succeeded. I'm not going to explain in detail about this the Azure DevOps. I will quickly move into the repos and the pipelines. The repos will have our source code. Here we'll have all the source code, the solution, the packager, and all the common related files, plugins, workflows, and the packages will have all the necessary, the DLL related to all the projects. And the change sets, here we will be able to see all the change sets, whatever the developer is the committing from the Visual Studio. So that will come and sit here as a change sets. And self set, if you want to don't want to commit the code, and if you want to have your code in the repository, then you will be able to do the self share. And in the pipelines, we mainly use for our process, we mainly use the build definition and the release definition, and we do have the library. This library, what we are doing is like as part of this deployment process. So we need to establish the connection to the Dynamics 365 CE instance from the Azure DevOps. So basically we'll be establishing a connection to the source environment and the destination environment. It's not recommended to keep the username and the password of the source environment and the destination environment in the variables in Azure DevOps. Yep. Guys, can you please go on mute? Yeah. So that's the reason we have created a Azure Key Vault. So in the Azure Key Vault, I have added all the username and password, the dev username, password, SIT username, password as a secrets, and Azure DevOps has a provision to create the variable groups from the Azure Key Vault. So once we select this, it will ask you to select the Azure subscription, and once you select the Azure subscription, it will ask you to select the Key Vault name. If you select it, then we will be able to see all the variables under this Azure Key Vault. This will be using it in our VSTS build and release definition. Let me quickly get into the Visual Studio. So yeah, so here is the project structure. So as I mentioned, I have used the CRM developer toolkit to create this, the main solution, the build automation. Under the build automation, I have created all these projects, the buildautomation.com, and it will hold all the common files, the common the files, helper classes across this, the plugins and the workflows. And we do have a separate project for plugins, workflows, and this solution manager will contain all the necessary PowerShell scripts and the command files. And also this will have the solution packager.exe. Based on the solution packager.exe only, all the command files will run. And we do have a project called build automation.solutions, and here is the folder. Using the unpack command, will be extracting the zip file into this the required format. For our demo purpose, I have taken two instances. So this crmmalaysian.crm5.dynamics.com will be my source instance, and my destination instance will be build automation sit.crm5.dynamics.com. Okay. So what I will do is, like, for our demo purpose, just I have a solution called build automation. Over here, I will add some components, and we'll see how we are moving the components from the dev environment to SIT using our DevOps process. I will just create a field called reject reason, and I will give this as a multi-line of text, and I will save this one. So once this is done, I will quickly add this field into the form. So let it publish. In the meanwhile, I will quickly go and add one more web resources for our demo. So just I will write some function test method inside. So I have added this method. So I will give the publish all customization. Even the publish is also not required. So even in our PowerShell script, we have written this. So I will just quickly get into the PowerShell script and I will explain you. So so this is the PowerShell script which I have written. So here in the starting, I'm initializing all the variables, the solution name and solution file path, CRM username, password, and the CRM URL. And here I have written a method called the function establish CRM. So in this PowerShell script, mainly we are concentrating on three things. One is like, first, initially we are establishing the connection to the CRM, then publishing the customization and exporting the customization to the desired path. So if you see here, so here I'm establishing a connection. This method is establish the connection. So this how this PowerShell script works is like in the PowerShell we do have a module called microsoft.xrm.data.PowerShell tools. So using that module, I'm establishing a connection. So here, if you see, I'm passing the username, password. So then once that is done, so then there is a command to establish a connection, connect-CRM online. Using that, connection will be established, and I'm holding that connection in this CRM online variable. Then with that, I'm publishing the customization and exporting the solutions. I will quickly run this. So it will take a couple of minutes to run. So in the meanwhile, I will explain you how we have configured the VSTS, the build and release definition. Before that, I wish to explain the unpack command. So once the solution gets exported, it will come and sit in the common location, this particular location. Okay. So post that work is done, then it's a developer's responsibility to run this unpack, the solution unpack.cmd. So that I have configured as an external tools. So if you go here, so here we'll be able to see it, the unpack, the build definition. So over here, just I am passing the command file and the initial directory. And basically what this command file will do is like using the solution in the solution packager.exe, we do have a command called extract. Then for this extract, it will take the package type and the zip file and the solution folder path. If you provide this three details, it will pick this zip file and will export in this particular format. Still the export solution is going on. So in the meanwhile, I will explain you how we have configured the build and release definition. So it's a developer's responsibility to export the solution, and he need to check in only the necessary components which is associated with his user story. And once he commits the solution into the TFS, then automatically this build definition, it will run. And here you will be able to see this the build components. So this is the Visual Studio build task which I have added here. So the reason for adding this is like we are making sure that what are the custom components, what are the project files we are having, it's building properly without giving any error. And so in our process, we are using the Valhemis tools. So in the Valhemis tools, this is the mandatory step we need to add it if you are using his product. This is the Power DevOps tool installer. And if you add this, for example, if you want to use the set version and the MS CRM pack solution, then it's a mandatory that we need to use the Power DevOps tool installer. So as a second step, I'm adding this, and then I'm setting the version number to the source instance. I'm just passing the connection string. This connection string, I'm keeping it in the variables, and this variable we are getting it from the Azure Key Vaults. As I mentioned earlier, this we are getting it from the Azure Key Vaults, so that the people will not be able to see what is the value inside this username and password. So once the set version is done, then we'll pick the solution from this. Here we are providing the unpacked files folder. That is nothing but this is the path we'll be providing. If you go to the Visual Studio, and this is the path we'll be providing. Under this path, what all the components are there, with that it will pack this into an CRM solution. And mainly here I didn't map any mapping.xml file, but it's mandatory. It's if you are having the plugins and the custom code, we need to map the mapping.xml. The mapping.xml works on the three ways: the folder mapping, and file to file mapping, and file to path mapping, but in our scenario, we are using the file to file mapping. And here you can give the package type, the managed and unmanaged, or if you give both, and both the solution will be the packaged. And I'm providing the output path, the where the solution needs to be the put. And last, I'm pushing this the form to the CRM solution into an artifacts repository. Let me go back. Still, it is exporting. Okay, let it export. So in the meanwhile, I will complete the release definition. And once this, okay, on top of in this build definition, I missed to forgot about the gated check-in. So if you go to the triggers here, we'll be able to see the gated check-in process. But for the demo purpose, I haven't enabled. And if you enable this, and if you add the necessary steps in the build automation, and it will perform all the necessary code analysis. For example, you can use the check marks. This is for the C#, the code. You can use the check marks, and we do have the Sonar Cube, or else even we can use the one which comes automatically with the Microsoft Visual Studio, the Microsoft recommended tools. Using this, you will be able to do the static code analysis for the C# codes. And we do have the JS hint and the JS lin. There are a lot more, but the one is this, the famous one, like JS hint, the static code analysis for the JavaScripts, for the HTMLs and the JS files, what you are returning in your projects. So once if you enable this, and it will do all the code, the code metrics analysis, the code check, and if it is not meeting the coding standards, what it will do is like it will simply fail this build, and it will send out the notification to the developers saying that this particular code is what are the check-in you are doing is not meeting the coding standards. Kindly fix this code and recommit the code into the VSTS. So yeah, for our demo purpose, I haven't enabled it, but you guys can enable the option from here. And if you go to options here, I'm giving the build number format. This whatever the format you are having it, you whatever the format you want, you can have it, give it over here. Why I'm giving this format is like in the solution, in the CRM solution, we do have a version. I'm setting the version based on this build number format. Whatever the build number format we are getting it right. So based on that, I'm setting the CRM solution version. So this is the thing about. So now the solution got exported into this particular the folder. Now I will go to the Visual Studio and I will run this unpack build automation. And here you will be able to see it is extracting all the components. Here you can see I have added the new JS file called unpack event demo.js. You will be able to see it over here. So as a developer, it's my responsibility to check in only my necessary components. So what I will do is like, so I will go to the web resource. So here I will include this in project, and I will do this check-in. And I have modified the form. So I need to check in my form, the approval form. And I have added one new field. So if you are adding any new field, then you need to add the entity.xml. If the new field is of type lookup, then you need to add the relationship.xml and the related entity.xml file. Then finally, we need to add the solution.xml. In the solution.xml, you will be able to see all your new components. For example, if you go here, this is the new file you will be adding. For example, if the developer 1 and developer 2 is working on, for example, I am working on the unpack event demo, and there is one more developer. He has worked on the user story, and he has added one more JS file. Then we'll be able to see the other JS file over here, but we should not include his changes. We need to make sure the developer need to make sure like he's including only his changes associated with this user story. That is the thumb rule in this process. So once this is done, so I will just do the check-in. And even here, we do have the permission to add the user story number, and we can associate that user story with the change set details. But I missed to do it. But in the project, you can do that. So now I have done my commit. Now if I go to the build definition, see the my build definition triggered automatically. See here we'll be able to see the APAC event demo, the whatever the comments I have mentioned there. So based on that, it started triggering. So let it trigger. In the meanwhile, I will explain you the release process. As part of the release process, what we are doing it. In the release process, so as I mentioned in the build definition, if you are using the Valheim tools, it's the mandatory that we need to use this Power DevOps tool installer as a first step. Once this is done, then the second component, I'm adding the import solution. In the import solution, I'm just passing the connection string, but typically this should comes from the variables. Since it is a demo purpose, I just had given it there. And here you need to, here if you go here, here it will show you the linked artifacts related to this release definition. Here you will be able to see the release, the solution file. As a first step, you need to select this one. Once you select, it is a one-time process. Once you select and configure this release definition, every time it will pick this the solution file and it will deploy it into the target instance. Like similarly, like the normal manual process. Here we do have the publish workflows and override unmanaged customization, override solution, all those things. And even if your solution is bigger, then you can increase your timeout over here. And if you are missed to uncheck this publish workflows, then if your solution is having the plugin steps and workflows, automatically it will get into draft state. So it's mandatory that we need to make sure that we are checking this publish workflows option. Okay, so this is about the VSTS release definition. Now we'll go and see whether the build got succeeded or not. Yeah, now we can see the build got succeeded. So if you go to those artifacts, here we'll be able to see the file. This is the solution file. Okay. So once the build definition get trigger or the succeeded, my release definition will trigger automatically. And over here you can see the approval. I have configured the I have configured the approver for this. So I have configured for the demo purpose. I have just given myself as a approver, so I can approve it from here. Or else, if you are configuring the test manager or the UAT manager, for them they will receive an email in the inbox with the URL. They can click on that URL and it will navigate to this page. Then over here they will be able to approve this. So as soon as it gets approved, the release definition will trigger automatically. And here is the step. So if I go to let it run, in the meanwhile, I will explain you some of the things in the VSTS release definition. Yeah. So if you see here, this is the build automation associated with this release pipeline. And here we do have the option provision to schedule it. But as of now, I'm not scheduling it. But if you enable this, then you will be add multiple schedules. Based on the schedules, your release definition will trigger automatically with the last build definition, which is succeeded in your system. Okay. And here we do have an option to the pre-deployment approvers. And here we do have a triggers and the pre-deployment approvers. I have enabled the pre-deployment approvers. Here I have given my name. And even you can set a timeout to here like 30 days and however you want based on your requirement, you will be able to set the timeout over here. So now if you see here, the build definition got triggered and it downloaded the drop folder, the solution which we have created in the build definition. It downloaded it from there, and as a next step, it downloaded the secrets. There's the dev CRM username, password, all those things. It has interacted with the Azure and it has received all things. And as I mentioned, then it has executed the Power DevOps tool. Now the import is going on. So here you can able to see the version here. So I'm just taking the build version and I'm setting it to the CRM version. So once the deployment is done, then over there we'll be able to see the version. So here this is the environment which I'm using it. So here you will be able to see the version called 2. Once the deployment is completed, it will update here automatically with the latest version number. So let this run. And this is the Valhemis tool. So since it's already associated with my Azure DevOps, here it is not giving the provision to install. But if you click on this, get it free, then it will take you to the page, the marketplace.visualstudio.com in the Azure DevOps. So over there, you will be able to install it. Here you need to select your Azure DevOps instance and you need to click on download and it will ask you to install it. And one more provision we do have, once the build and release definition gets succeeded, we can automatically send out a notification in the Teams channel. For example, in a project, typically, for example, if you are working on any project for that particular team, the particular Teams channel will be created. But once the release definition gets triggered, automatically with the change set, what all the user stories got completed, all those details will be able to send out the notification. Automatically, it will send out a notification to the Microsoft Teams. So now the release definition got succeeded. Now if I go to the test environment and if I refresh this, so here you will be able to see the latest version which got flown from the DevOps process. If I open this, I will be able to see the latest JavaScript file which I have created newly, and also the form changes. So if you see here there is the new JS file which got created in our dev environment. This is the file which I have created, and if I go to the approval entity, so here you can see the field which I have created. So yeah, that's it with the system demo. So similarly, this is for the SIT environment. But what we do is for the UAT and the production environment, we export the managed solution directly from the SIT, and will, based on the test manage the product owner's approval, will deploy that solution into the UAT and the production environment. So let's get back to the presentation. So this is the build and release definition which we have seen in the system demo. So, and there are 10 common myths we are having to follow the CI/CD process. The everyone is aware of the CI/CD process, but no one is not doing it, because the people are feeling like it's not required for the CRM projects, and they are feeling like it does not add value to the project. And they do have a thinking process like it's applies only for the larger enterprise. It won't work for the smaller projects. And the people think like it requires lots of new skills, but nothing. If you know the PowerShell basic skills, and if you know how to use the Valhemis components and the Azure DevOps, easily we can configure this. And also it's not a time consuming process, and the cost is also not much involved here. And people also have a thought process like the CI/CD does not work with the CRM, the implementation project. It's not like that. Literally, we have seen the demo here. It works well for the CRM implementation projects. And next is the summary of this session. So through this session, we got the awareness of how we can use the DevOps process for our CRM projects, and it's much easier to implement, and it's nothing general availability of tools and the frameworks. With that, we are building this process, and it does not take much time, and only the one manual the process is here. That is the main process involved here, that we will not be able to skip it. That is mandatory actually. If we are following that process, then only our process will be smooth and we won't encounter any issues in the deployments. And the cost and the benefit, the cost is also very less over here, and there is a reduction in the risk, and it increases the proficiency and the quality and the consistency, and it reducing the time to market. And initially it will be a pain for developers, I understand, but once they got used to it, and it will be the developers and the customers will be happy to adopt this process. And if you have any questions, then please let me know. And also here is the contact details. This is the blog link, and I have posted the Twitter handle, email, and LinkedIn. So if while implementing this process, if you are stuck somewhere and if you have any doubts, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be very glad to assist you on this. And this is the KL, the business applications and Power Platform user community, and I have posted the meetup.com URL here. So if any guys are joining from the KL, so you can feel free to join this meetup.com. So every month we'll be having the user community, the meetup in the Microsoft Office. So over there we'll be presenting the recent technology changes and what all the new things that Microsoft is bringing in. All those updates will be giving it in the user community. And myself and Temi, along with me, the Temi and PK Hong is there. They both are the community leads, the KL community. They both are also the KL community leads. They are supporting me in driving all these events. And last is here's the feedback. Your feedback really important to us. So please feel free to provide the feedback to us. So your feedbacks are most important to groom ourselves in the upcoming events. So I will request you to scan the QR code and provide the valuable feedbacks.
Dharani, just Jiva here, sorry.
Yeah.
So for the Malaysia user group, because of the COVID situation, I think, I believe you are not doing any physical event, right? You are going to do
as of now, we are not doing the physical events. We are joining with the APAC. We are doing together. We are doing the APAC business applications and Power Platform virtual events. But this one I have posted it once the COVID situation gets over. We'll be doing the normal events. So for that, I have posted the meetup.com.
Got it. Meetup, yeah. Thank you. There are a few questions. Manish, would like to, or we can keep it simpler and faster as we are running out of time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure, Jiva. First of all, thanks, Rani. I think we have a few quick questions. So first of all, people wants to know, like, you have shared some PowerShell scripts, right? So they are wondering that, can you share some link from where they can download those scripts or they can go through the scripts?
Sure. I will update those scripts in my blog, and I will post my blog the details in the chat window. The people can go and get the PowerShell scripts from there.
Great. Another question they have asked is that, although you have explained every CI/CD with respect to the Dynamics 365 CE, but they are also asking that in some scenario we also use Azure Functions and Azure Job while implementing the holistic solution. Yes. So how they can use CI/CD in that scenario?
The similar way, like what all the components they are checking in, right? We need to create a separate pipeline for the Azure components, like the Azure Web API and for the Azure Web Jobs. In the VSTS, they do have a lot of Azure related tasks. Using the task, they will be able to do the deployments for the Azure related components.
So it's just a separate pipeline for Azure related tasks.
Separate pipeline, they need to create it for the Azure related components.
Sure. I think that that are the basic questions which everyone is wondering about. I think, Jiva, you have a few questions as well. Would you like to ask?
Yeah, I just asked a couple of questions, and then we can take the rest of the questions offline because we are running out of time. So the reason I want to ask this question right here is a kind of a common question that others might have. So how can I use this CI/CD for Power Apps, mainly Canvas apps? I know we can do it for the model-driven app in this way, for the Canvas app and Power Automate.
For the Power Automate, we can do it in the normal process which I have explained. So in the Power Automate, if you open the CRM solution, you can add your flow over there. Okay, then the similar way you can export the solution, you can extract the component, and using the VSTS build and release definition, you will be able to deploy it. This process will automatically take care of it. But we need to make sure. We have recently encountered a problem, like our flow was not working with the solution packager.exe file. Then we found that it's because of the DLL issue. The solution packager and all the necessary the DLL should be the latest ones. If you are having that, then as part of this process, the flow can be handled. But I haven't tried for the Canvas apps, but I will check and get back to you on this, Jiva, regarding the Canvas apps. or else I will check and post it in my blog. That will be useful for all the other folks.
Thank you, thank you. And the last question would be, this DevOps CI/CD pipeline, can it get connected to the DevOps the work items board, so that once the build or certain task is done, can it go and update the task items as completed or not ready for review, something like that?
Exactly. As I mentioned while doing the check-in, so if you see here, the change set is there, right? You need to associate the item here. If you associate the item, and if the build and release gets succeeded, automatically it will go and update that user story, saying that this build is associated with this user story. And over there, you can see your change sets also, what all the components are associated with that particular user story.
Okay, perfect. I think I'll get the things from your blog or from you offline, since we are running out of time.
Yeah, so I have just I'm just showing the screen here in the related work items. You just need to mention the user story number here.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to mention. For example, if you are committing the 2 user story, then you need to mention 2 user story number here. And here we'll get an option to associate and resolve. And if you resolve it, automatically the user story will move to resolved state. Or if you associate, then this particular change set will go and associate with that particular user story.
Perfect. I think, yeah. So we have another 2 or 3 questions. I think, Manish, please note these questions. Probably we can take it offline.
Sure, Jiva.
Yeah. Or if you have time after Mr. PK Hong's session, we can address this. We can come back to this, I think.
Sure, Jiva. Yeah.
Thank you, Dharani. Thank you for your wonderful demo, and it was such a hands-on demo. I know it is not easy to configure the whole CI/CD pipeline with all the cases and gating. It's good that you're able to do that given 45 minutes of time.
Yeah.
And thanks for that again.